Hello, hey, thanks for tuning in. So tonight I'm going to talk about the board action that took place last Tuesday. Dutch County Board. There was a resolution to eliminate 2 sergeant positions and replace it with 1 lieutenant. That resolution passed by a vote of 26-5. Feel free to look at the resolution online. We would probably link that resolution to the video here. There's 2 reasons why I'm really talking tonight, and it has to do with what happened during this resolution. One is, breaking the rules. We have board rules, and we tend to ignore those on a regular basis, unfortunately. And then some of the justification that came to the full board for implementing this change. So what I want to talk about is what's referred to as the Matrix Report. Back in 2019, Dodge County hired a consultant to come in and make some recommendations for changes at the sheriff's office. It's called the Matrix Report. You're going to hear that. If you go looking for it, you'll find it on the Dodge County website, and I think we'll have a link for that for you as well. But it's referred to as the Operational and Financial Review of the Dodge County Sheriff's Office. It's dated in August of 2019. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that the justification from some of the board members was that we're going to save money, and that this Matrix Report called out the changes that were being requested last Tuesday. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've looked that report over many times, and I can tell you that there's a summation on page 5 of that report. I encourage you to pull that up and look, and there's no recommendation to increase lieutenants and reduce the sergeants. Matter of fact, it's exact opposite. If you read the report, it's to increase 1 sergeant position. And now, unfortunately, we've removed that. So what I want to do is talk about what some of my fellow board members argued that night. And then I want to tell you my position and let you make your own decision as to what really happened. So I'm going to start with some quotes that I pulled out of the Matrix Report, and then we'll go into some of the quotes that I wrote down the night of the meeting. But this is from the Matrix Report. It says, given the low spans of control, field supervision levels should not be adjusted. A lot of fancy words. Basically, it says we already have more chiefs than we have Indians. We already have plenty of people in that supervision role. It also says that, counting, and this is a quote, counting the sergeants alone, the spans of control are extremely low. Another fancy term basically says we have lots of supervision and not so many people underneath. So, quite honestly, I searched that report over. I encourage you to find the page in there where it says get rid of 2 sergeants and replace it with a lieutenant, and then mail it to me or call me and tell me what page I'm going to find that on, because I can't find it under the recommendations, page 5, nor in the discussion, probably about page 105, 106. So let me talk about the board meeting and some of the discussion, because it's time to call out some people and to the arguments that they give. And I'm willing to talk about my arguments that night. But Supervisor Steger started some of the discussion and said that he could see the advantages, and he encouraged all of us to read the packet, because then we would understand what the advantages of the changes were. I read the packet, I don't see it. Supervisor Freevolt then spoke up and said basically, again, read the packet and we're going to save money. And there's good reasons for making these changes. And then he wanted to hear from the sheriff. He wanted the sheriff to speak. Well, the sheriff didn't speak. Okay, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Conway, Supervisor Conway then spoke. He's the chairman of that JPP committee. And he said, basically, he agrees with what Roger says as far as, saving money. And he also piped in that part of the matrix study includes eliminating a sergeant position. Again, I sent him a note. I sent the sheriff a note last Friday. Didn't get a reply. I sent him a copy of the report that I have, which is the most recent one. And I said, send me back. Tell me where I can find this recommendation in the report. It doesn't exist, people. And then Supervisor Breslow spoke up, and he made a very good comment. He said, how long before we create the position back? How long? Well, at that point, the chairman, Mr. Froehling, said, well, let's have the sheriff speak. Well, Mr. Breslow objected, which is his right by our rules. And he said he objects to the sheriff speaking. He'd prefer to hear it from the committee. Well, we operate under a committee structure, and the committees are supposed to review all of this stuff and bring those recommendations, and all the questions and answers should come from them. They've studied it. The answers should be able to come from the committee. So Mr. Breslow, as is his right, he said, no, I don't want to hear the sheriff. Now, I side with the sheriff. I side with Mr. Breslow on this because it's a board meeting. It's not a public comment. It's not a admin department head meeting. We got 33 board members. By the time we all talk, these meetings are long enough. We don't need more comments from department heads. In my humble opinion, you got questions or concerns, call the department head before you walk into the meeting. Matter of fact, come 10 minutes early because most of them are in the back of the room. If you have questions or concerns, ask them. Bring that. Or, quite honestly, if you got concerns, talk to the committee of jurisdiction. Another good place to go. So, Mr. Breslow objected to the sheriff speaking, and we'll circle back to that in a minute. But then Supervisor Houchin spoke up, and she questioned why the position change didn't come in July, on or before July, like our rules indicate. And she makes a very good, valid point. So let me switch over and just read this rule. This is a rule that we've created, and there's a reason for the rule. The rule is to assist in putting a budget together. So it says specifically, new positions funded by subsequent year's budget, and by the way, this is something that's going to happen in 2024, which is next year's budget. Any request for newly created positions or changes of two positions, as described as follows, which will first become effective in the next succeeding year, will require approval of the county board in the form of a resolution and will not be considered for inclusion in the Dodge County budget for the next succeeding year unless it's approved at or prior to the July County Board meeting. Let me repeat. You have to show up before July if we're going to include those changes in the next budget. Well, if you read the resolution, it's for changes that are going to occur in 2024. It's not in the current year. So we'll circle back because, I have some quotes from the sheriff regarding this particular rule. But after Ms. Houchin spoke, I had a chance to, make some comments. And my comment is, a repeat about the rules because I know what the rule states. And I said basically, those rules are there to assist in creating the budget. They're there to assist the administrator in forming and putting that budget together. That's why we have it. Well, we ignored the rule last Tuesday night. Well, some of us did, right? Because what did I say? The vote was 26-5. So some of us still believe in the rules, and some of us just ignore them. The other thing is, I made mention during my time to talk was that we're not saving any money. We don't save any money. Well, we can technically. the paperwork that we got said that if we eliminate 2 sergeants and replace it with a lieutenant, the difference in pay and such, we would save a little money. Well, I would argue, like I did that night, anytime you get rid of a person, you're going to save money. So if we get rid of 2 sergeants and replace it with 1 lieutenant, net effect, 1 less person. So yeah, there'd be a savings. But let me talk about what the sheriff said, but I'm going to loop back to the sheriff, okay? Because some people were objecting to the fact that the sheriff couldn't speak. Mr. Stager indicated it's a bunch of baloney. We got these department heads in the back of the room. We should have them speak. Again, these meetings get long enough. We don't need to have them speak on every topic. You got questions or concerns, hit them up before the meeting. Quite honestly, these are long meetings, and they become disorganized when we have too much talking. So, because of Mr. Stager's comments, he made a motion to allow the sheriff to speak, and we had a vote. Which, by rule, we say if you want to let somebody speak that's not a board member, you have to have 2/3 of the present board members allow him to speak. Well, the sheriff got to speak. So I wrote some quotes down from the sheriff, which I think are very interesting. He said he doesn't remember, excuse me for a second. He said he doesn't remember the questions that were asked, but if you look at the memo, he's got all the detail in the memo that he sent to all of the board members. But then he said, there's no savings at the end of the day. Let me repeat that. There's no savings at the end of the day. The additional costs for the additional hours are a result of this thing. There's no savings. That's one of the justifications that JPP came to us and said, that's why we should approve this thing. Yes, there's a quote from the sheriff now. Yes, there's a reduction of 1 person because that's what the matrix study calls for. Again, a quote from the sheriff. I sent him a note. I said, tell me in the book where it says that. I sent the note to Mr. Conway. Send me, here's the report. You show me in the report where it says that. It doesn't exist. I'm going to refer back to this memo from the sheriff. In there, he says, ultimately the savings are only going to come by having 1 less person on the road. I object to that. First off, that's in effect defunding the police. We didn't call it that night, but we got 1 less person. Through this action, we're going to have 1 less person patrolling our streets. I'll tell you that right now. But my concern is this. When you read the details, okay, we're not going to get rid of 2 sergeants and replace it with a lieutenant. No. What we're going to do is through attrition, we will reduce the number of sergeants we currently have. Through attrition. That means we're going to keep what we have until such time as somebody quits or retires, and then we will get the savings. So, even the savings that they indicate on our resolution isn't something that we can look for. And then, lastly, the rules. Because the sheriff had a chance to speak, and he said, yes, this is an exception in the rules. And we're not against the rules. Well, I hate to tell you. His quote, it's not a violation of the rules because we have an exemption under B, which allows us to bring these positions at any time of the year. Well, I read the rule to you. The rule's available. It doesn't meet the rule. Bottom line is, I'm frustrated because of the manner in which we get things done here at the county board. We have a set of rules to help guide us. We have policies in place. We tend not to follow any of those things. And if you disagree with me, feel free to call me, write me, talk to your own supervisor, see what's happening here. We'll have links to to the resolution and the matrix study in this posting. And again, just give me a call if you have any concerns. Thanks. Bye.